The massive alien warship emerged from hyperspace just beyond Mars' orbit, its dark hull blocking out the distant stars. On board, Lord Commander Bright stood tall, his scaled hands clasped behind his back, as he observed the blue planet through the ship's viewing screen. Earth looked so peaceful, so vulnerable. Just another primitive world ripe for conquest. "Status report," he commanded, his voice echoing across the bridge. "My lord, our scans show minimal space defense capabilities," his second-in-command reported. "Their most advanced vessels are confined to their own orbit. No energy shields detected. No quantum weapons. They're barely at level 2 technological development." Bright allowed himself a small smile. The Stellar Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds like this one. Earth would be no different. Their intelligence suggested that humans were still fighting among themselves, divided into nations and factions. They would fall easily. "Begin the standard invasion procedure," he ordered. "Target their largest military installations first." The invasion fleet descended through Earth's atmosphere, 5,000 ships strong. They expected no real resistance. Their intelligence showed Earth's most advanced weapons were primitive nuclear devices and basic projectile weapons. In New York, people stopped to stare at the sky as massive shadows fell over the city. In Beijing, millions watched in horror as the alien ships took position above their homes. In London, Moscow, and Delhi, the scene repeated itself. At the Pentagon in Washington, General Tom Harris rushed into the Emergency Command Center. Screens around him showed the alien vessels positioning themselves above major cities worldwide. His aide handed him the latest report. "Sir, they're broadcasting a demand for immediate surrender," the aide said, his voice shaking. Harris took a deep breath. 20 years of preparation had led to this moment. "Send the signal," he ordered quietly. "Authorization code. Sleeping Giant." Across the globe, hidden bunkers hummed to life. In the depths of the oceans, secret bases activated their systems. High in the mountains and deep in the deserts, camouflaged installations powered up their defenses. On his flagship, Lord Commander Bright was about to give the order to fire when his tactical officer shouted in alarm. "My lord." Energy signatures detected. Thousands of them, rising from the planet's surface. "Impossible," Bright snarled. "They're a primitive." He never finished his sentence. The first wave of Earth's defense grid activated. Quantum-tipped missiles, reverse-engineered from a crashed alien ship found in Antarctica decades ago, streaked into the sky. Advanced energy weapons, hidden in plain sight as office buildings and mountain ranges, opened fire. The Stellar Empire's front line crumbled. Their ships, expecting no resistance, had their shields lowered for atmospheric entry. 30% of the invasion fleet was destroyed in the first 5 minutes. "Full shields. Return fire," Bright roared, but the chaos had only begun. Earth's secret space fleet emerged from hidden bases on the dark side of the moon. Led by Admiral Walker's flagship, Humanity's Hope, they struck the alien fleet from behind. Their ships were smaller but more agile, using combat techniques developed from centuries of human warfare at sea. In orbit above Earth, the battle raged. The Stellar Empire's forces found themselves caught between orbital defenses and a highly trained space fleet that shouldn't have existed. Their carefully planned invasion was falling apart. "How is this possible?" Bright demanded as another explosion rocked his ship. "They were supposed to be primitive." His tactical officer, watching another wave of human ships emerge from clever hiding spots in the asteroid belt, had no answer. In the Pentagon, General Harris allowed himself a grim smile as he watched the battle unfold on his screens. Humanity had known they weren't alone for decades. They had prepared in secret, knowing that showing their true capabilities would only invite earlier invasion. Now, the Stellar Empire was learning a lesson that would echo across the galaxy. Never underestimate humanity. They had spent generations fighting among themselves, perfecting the art of war. Now, united against an external threat, they were showing the galaxy exactly what they could do. The first wave of Earth's fierce retaliation was just beginning, and a galactic council was about to learn that they had made a terrible mistake. 2 days after the failed invasion, Lord Commander Bright stood before the emergency hologram meeting of the Galactic Council. His scales had lost their shine, and his uniform showed battle damage. The faces of the council members showed a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Impossible," the High Speaker said, his 3 eyes blinking rapidly. "Our reports showed Earth was a Level 2 civilization. They shouldn't have had any of this technology." "The reports were wrong," Bright replied, his voice bitter. "We lost 40% of our invasion fleet. Their weapons, they weren't just advanced. They knew exactly how to counter our shields. They knew our weak points." In the background, recordings from the battle played. Earth ships performed maneuvers that caught the Empire's forces completely off guard. Their weapons pierced shields with frightening accuracy. Even more disturbing was how their defenses had remained hidden until the perfect moment. Meanwhile, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Earth's leaders gathered in their most secure command center. General Harris stood before a group of world leaders, explaining how humanity had kept their true strength hidden for so long. "It began in 1947, he said, pointing to an old photograph. "The Roswell incident wasn't just a crash. It was our first contact, and more importantly, our first access to alien technology." The screen behind him showed images of the secret facilities where human scientists had worked for decades. "We found more crashes over the years. Each one taught us more. But our greatest advantage was that we kept fighting among ourselves. Our wars," he continued, "as terrible as they were, taught us things the Empire never learned. We developed tactics they never imagined. Their technology was more advanced, but their strategy was thousands of years old." At that moment, Admiral Walker's face appeared on the main screen. "General, we've decoded more of their communications. The Empire is planning a second attack. They're bringing in their elite fleets." In space, Earth's forces were already preparing. Hidden bases on Mars opened their doors, revealing shipyards that had been operating in secret for years. Weapon platforms disguised as small asteroids moved into defensive positions. But humanity's greatest secret was still to come. Back in the council meeting, Bright was explaining their plans for a second attack when alarms began blaring across the Empire's capital world. On every screen, a signal appeared, a transmission from Earth. Dr. Mary Thompson, Earth's previously unknown ambassador, appeared before the council. Her expression was calm but firm. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council, I speak to you from humanity's embassy on Mars, an embassy we built 50 years ago when we first learned of your existence." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Bright's scales turned pale. "We have monitored your civilizations for decades," Thompson continued. "We watched, we learned, and we prepared. The Empire's illegal invasion of Earth has forced us to reveal ourselves sooner than planned. But make no mistake, we are ready." To prove her point, hidden human observation posts throughout Empire space began broadcasting their presence. Stealth satellites, disguised trading posts, and undercover operatives. Humanity's intelligence network was vast and deeply embedded. "We chose to appear primitive," Thompson explained, "because we saw how the Empire treated developing worlds. We watched them strip resources from helpless planets. We decided to wait, to prepare, to be ready when they eventually came for us." In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Harris watched the transmission with satisfaction. Humanity's greatest strength hadn't just been their hidden technology or superior tactics. It had been their patience, their willingness to appear weak while building their strength. The second wave of Empire ships was already turning back. Their commanders had seen the recordings from the first battle. None of them wanted to face an enemy that had not only matched their technology, but had developed entirely new ways to use it. As the council meeting dissolved into argument and accusation, one thing became clear: humanity wasn't just joining the galactic community. They were about to change it forever. The time for hiding was over. Now, It was time to show the galaxy exactly what Earth could do. Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of humanity's hope, watching as his fleet gathered near Jupiter's orbit. 500 Earth ships, their hulls gleaming with new technology, formed up in an attack formation that would have made ancient naval commanders proud. "Status report," he called out to his crew. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his tactical officer replied. "The Empire's defense fleet is positioned exactly where our spies said they would be." Walker nodded. For decades, humanity had studied old Earth warfare, everything from Roman legion tactics to modern submarine strategies. Now they would show the galaxy how humans really fought. "Send the signal," Walker ordered. "Operation Trojan Horse begins now." Across the fleet, ships vanished into hyperspace. But they didn't all go to the same place. Unlike the Empire's massive, straightforward attacks, Earth's fleet split into smaller groups, each with its own target. The first strike hit the Empire's main shipyard at their colony world, Beta 9. Empire guards watched in confusion as what seemed to be a merchant ship approached their defense perimeter. By the time they realized it was packed with advanced Earth weapons, it was too late. The explosion took out their main shield generator. Seconds later, 30 Earth warships appeared, using the same hit-and-run tactics that ancient horse archers had perfected on Earth's steppes thousands of years ago. "Multiple targets destroyed," reported Walker's communication officer. "Beta 9 shipyards are crippled." Moving to Phase 2. In the Empire's capital, Lord Commander Bright rushed into their war room. Reports were coming in from across their territory. Earth ships appearing out of nowhere, striking critical targets, and vanishing before they could respond. "How are they predicting our movements?" he demanded. The answer came from his intelligence chief. "Sir, we're finding human observation posts hidden everywhere. They've been studying us for years. They know our protocols, our response patterns, everything." At that moment, Admiral Walker's main fleet appeared in orbit above the Empire's largest military academy. But instead of attacking, they broadcast a message to the young cadets below. "We don't wish to harm future generations," Walker's voice echoed across the academy grounds. "Humanity believes in protecting life, not destroying it. Surrender, and you will be treated with respect." The academy surrendered within an hour. It was a psychological blow that shook the Empire to its core. Meanwhile, smaller Earth squadrons struck across Empire space, but not just at military targets. They hit slave markets, freeing captured species. They destroyed resource processing centers that had been built with stolen wealth from conquered worlds. "Sir," Walker's tactical officer called out, "the Trading Collective is sending us tactical data on Empire shipping routes. Other races are starting to help us." Walker allowed himself a small smile. This was what humanity had planned for, not just defeating the Empire, but showing the galaxy a better way. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Harris watched the reports coming in. Earth's forces had destroyed 30% of the Empire's military capability in just 6 hours, with minimal casualties on either side. "They never understood our history," Harris said to his staff. "Humans learned warfare the hard way, fighting ourselves for thousands of years. We learned that the clever win more battles than the strong." The Empire's forces were scattered, trying to defend too many places at once. They were used to being the strongest, to winning through pure force. They had no answer for humanity's combination of advanced technology and classical military strategy. As the day ended, Admiral Walker received a priority message. The Empire's own colony worlds were rising up, inspired by Earth's precise ethical warfare. They had expected Earth to be as brutal as the Empire. Instead, humanity showed them that power could be used to protect, not just destroy. "Send word to all ships," Walker commanded. "Phase 3 begins at dawn. The Empire is about to learn why you should never push humans into a corner. We don't just fight back, we change the rules of the game." The counterstrike was more than a military campaign. It was humanity's announcement to the galaxy. A new power had arrived, and things would never be the same. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council sparkled under its crystal dome, Representatives from 1,000 worlds sat in rising tiers, their voices creating a nervous buzz. None of them had expected the emergency session to turn out like this. Dr. Mary Thompson walked calmly to the center platform. Behind her, holographic screens showed the Empire's recent defeats. Her simple blue suit stood out among the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor of the other representatives. "Distinguished members of the Council," she began, her voice clear and strong. "For centuries, you have allowed the Empire to bully smaller worlds. Today, that ends." The High Speaker rose from his seat, his 3 eyes glowing with anger. "You have no right to speak here. Earth is not a recognized member of the Council." Thompson smiled and pressed a button on her datapad. New images appeared on the screens, secret recordings of Empire ships attacking peaceful worlds, of resources being stolen, of populations being enslaved. "We have proof of 37 violations of galactic law by the Empire," she announced. "Evidence gathered over 50 years by human observers. We may not be Council members, but Article 12 of your charter allows any species to present evidence of crimes against civilization." The Council chamber erupted in chaos. The Empire's representatives jumped to their feet, shouting denials. But other members, especially the Trading Collective, were leaning forward with great interest. Ambassador Dawn of the Trading Collective stood up. His silver skin reflected the chamber's lights as he spoke. "We have independently verified Earth's evidence. The Empire has broken our most sacred laws." In his private chamber, Lord Commander Bright watched the Council session with growing dread. His communication officer rushed in with more bad news. "Sir, we've lost contact with our forces in 3 more sectors." The officer reported. "The humans. They're not just beating us. They're showing everyone our weaknesses." Back in the Council chamber, Thompson was revealing more of humanity's discoveries. "We found Empire spy posts in Trading Collective space," she said. "They've been planning to attack your worlds next." The Trading Collective representatives erupted in anger. They had suspected this, but never had proof before. Ambassador Dawn moved to stand beside Thompson. "The Trading Collective formally recognizes Earth as an advanced civilization and requests immediate military alliance." Other Council members began standing up too. The smaller races, long bullied by the Empire, saw their chance for freedom. One by one, they declared support for Earth. On Earth, General Harris watched the Council session from his command center. "Politics," he muttered, "just another kind of battlefield." Dr. Thompson wasn't finished. She played her final card. Evidence that the Empire had been secretly developing banned weapons. "We offer protection to any Empire worlds that wish to declare independence," she announced. "Earth will ensure their safety during the transition." The Council chamber exploded with activity. Empire representatives stormed out. Other members rushed to form new alliances. Centuries of political balance shifted in minutes. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Walker received the updates with satisfaction. "Send the message to all fleet commanders," he ordered. "Operation Shield begins now. Move ships to protect any world that declares independence from the Empire." The Trading Collective's ships began moving too, joining Earth's forces in a display of unity that shocked the Empire's commanders. "They're not just beating us militarily," Lord Commander Bright realized, watching the reports flood in. "They're destroying our political power too." Dr. Thompson's final words to the Council echoed through the chamber. "Earth doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to protect it. For too long, you've let bullies control everything. It's time for a change." As she walked out of the chamber, member after member approached her, offering alliance, trade deals, and support. Humanity hadn't just survived the Empire's attack. They had turned it into an opportunity to reshape galactic politics. The Empire's representatives huddled in their offices, sending panicked messages home. They had expected to crush a primitive world. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant that was now dismantling their power piece by piece. And this was just the beginning. Lord Commander Bright stood before the Empire's Supreme Council, his scales dark with anger. The holographic displays showed their shrinking territory, as more colonies declared independence. "We must strike now," he growled, "before we lose everything. The trading collective is weak. If we destroy their main trading hubs, Earth will lose its strongest ally." The Supreme Council members nodded in agreement. They had ruled through fear for centuries. Perhaps it was time to remind the galaxy why everyone feared the Empire. At the edge of trading collective space, 3 massive Empire fleets emerged from hyperspace. Each fleet carried planet-killer weapons, devices banned by galactic law. They targeted the busiest trading stations first. Ambassador Dawn's urgent message reached Earth within minutes. "They're attacking our largest civilian centers. Millions of lives are at risk." In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Harris didn't hesitate. "Launch Operation Guardian. All ships, execute emergency jump protocols." Admiral Walker's fleet was ready. They had predicted this move. The Empire always attacked civilian targets when desperate. Earth's ships appeared between the Empire's fleets and their targets, shields raised. "This is Admiral Walker of Earth's Defense Force," his message broadcast across all channels. "You are targeting civilian populations. Withdraw now, or we will respond with full force." The Empire ships launched their first wave of attacks. But Earth's forces didn't just defend. They had studied every Empire battle for decades. They knew exactly what was coming. "Execute Maneuver Thunder," Walker commanded. His ships split into smaller groups, using the trading station's gravity fields to slingshot around at impossible speeds. It was an old trick learned from space probe missions, something the Empire had never considered using in battle. The first Empire fleet broke apart under Earth's attack. Their ships were bigger, but Earth's vessels moved like swarms of angry bees, striking from all directions. On one of the trading stations, thousands of civilians watched in awe. The Empire had always seemed unstoppable. Now they watched Earth's smaller ships tear through the massive Empire vessels, protecting them like ancient knights defending a castle. "Second Empire Fleet is targeting Station Beta," Walker's tactical officer shouted. "Not today," Walker replied calmly. "Signal the trading collective ships. Show them the new defense pattern we developed." Earth and trading collective ships moved together in perfect formation. The collected ships had better shields, while Earth's had superior weapons. Together, they covered each other's weaknesses. Lord Commander Bright watched in horror as his forces were pushed back. "Impossible. We have superior numbers, superior firepower." But numbers meant nothing against better tactics. Earth's ships had formed a defensive wall around every civilian station. They weren't just fighting. They were protecting. In the council chamber, Dr. Thompson addressed the emergency session. "The Empire just proved everything we said. They attacked innocent civilians out of spite. This ends today." More council members pledged support to Earth. The Empire's actions had shocked even their oldest allies. Back in the battle, Walker sprung his final trap. Hidden Earth ships emerged from behind nearby moons and asteroids. The Empire fleets were surrounded. "Your choice," Walker broadcast to the Empire commanders. "Surrender and face trial for war crimes, or continue this attack and be destroyed." One by one, Empire ships began powering down their weapons. Even their most loyal commanders could see the truth. They had lost not just the battle, but the support of the entire galaxy. General Harris received the final battle report with satisfaction. "Send word to all Earth ships. Begin rescue and recovery operations for any damaged stations. Show them how humanity treats its allies." The trading collective ambassadors watched in amazement as Earth ships immediately began helping their civilian populations. No demands, no price for their help, just immediate aid for those in need. Ambassador Dawn turned to Dr. Thompson. "We never knew there could be a species like yours. You fight like warriors but protect like guardians." Thompson smiled. "That's the difference between Earth and the Empire. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to make it better." The Empire's desperate attack had failed completely. Instead of breaking Earth's alliance, they had only made it stronger. And now, Even their own worlds were watching, learning, and beginning to question everything they had been told about power and leadership. The Imperial Palace on Zentrix Prime, capital of the Stellar Empire, burned, not from Earth's weapons, but from its own people. Crowds filled the streets, carrying makeshift banners showing Earth's symbol, a simple blue and green circle that had become a sign of hope across the galaxy. Lord Commander Bright watched from his command bunker as his own people turned against him. On screens around him, similar scenes played out on dozens of Empire worlds. "My lord," his aide reported, trembling. "The Third Fleet has declared independence. Admiral Rex says he won't fire on civilians anymore." Bright slammed his fist on the console. Traitors. All of them. But he knew why this was happening. Earth hadn't just defeated Empire ships, they had shown the galaxy a different way to use power. On the Empire colony world of New Haven, Commander Jane Peters of Earth's fleet watched as former Empire citizens celebrated their freedom. Her ships had arrived expecting to fight, only to find the local Empire forces had already surrendered to their own people. "Status report," she called to her crew. "5 more Empire worlds have declared independence in the last hour," her officer responded. "Their own military forces are helping maintain order. They're requesting Earth supervisors to help with the transition." Peters nodded. This was what Earth had hoped for, change from within. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Harris studied the reports with Dr. Thompson. The Empire was collapsing faster than anyone had expected. "Look at this," Thompson said, pointing to a video feed. Empire soldiers were helping civilians tear down statues of their former rulers. "They're not just rebelling. They're completely rejecting the old system." Harris agreed. "The Empire taught them that strength means crushing the weak. We showed them it can mean protecting others instead." On the Empire's main military academy world, Admiral Walker met with a group of young Empire officers who had refused to fire on protesters. "Why did you disobey orders?" he asked them. A young Empire commander stood up. "We watched how Earth fought. You could have destroyed us. But instead, you protected civilians, even Empire civilians. It made us question everything we were taught." The revolution spread like wildfire through Empire space. On planet after planet, the story was the same. People had seen Earth defend the trading collective's civilian stations. They had watched Earth ships help evacuate Empire colonies before battles. It showed them their leaders had lied about power and leadership. Lord Commander Bright's last transmission was broadcast across all channels. "I would rather die than see the Empire fall to these primitive ideas." His bunker's self-destruct sequence took out several city blocks. But by then, most of his own guards had already joined the revolution. In orbit above Zentrix Prime, Dr. Thompson addressed the local leaders who had taken control. "Earth will help you rebuild," she promised. "Not as rulers, but as equals. Each world can choose its own path now." The Empire's oldest and most loyal military commander, General Stone, approached Thompson after her speech. "I've served the Empire for 50 years, he said slowly. "I always thought our way was the only way. But Earth, you proved strength can serve wisdom instead of crushing it." Meanwhile, Earth ships across Empire space began a new mission, Operation Helping Hand. They delivered supplies to worlds damaged in the fighting, helped restore communication systems, and trained local forces to protect their own people. Admiral Walker received the latest reports with satisfaction. The revolution wasn't just about destroying the Empire. It was about building something better. "Send word to all Earth ships," he ordered. "Phase 3 is complete. Begin transition to peace operations." As the sun set on Zentrix Prime, former Empire citizens gathered in the streets, not to fight but to celebrate. Children played in parks that had once been military parade grounds. Former enemies worked together to plan new governments. The Empire had ruled through fear for centuries. In just a few months, Earth had helped its people find the courage to choose a different path. Not through conquest, but by example. The galaxy was changing, one world at a time. And this was just the beginning. 6 months after the Empire's fall, The Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different. The old marble walls now held artwork from 100 worlds. The Emperor's throne had been replaced by a simple round table. Representatives from Earth sat alongside former Empire worlds, and the trading collective as equals. Dr. Mary Thompson stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing the galaxy's transformation. The last Empire holdout surrendered this morning, she announced. The war is officially over. The chamber erupted in cheers. Representatives from worlds that had been enemies for centuries now sat together, planning trade routes and cultural exchanges. Admiral Walker, watching from the back of the chamber, smiled as he remembered how different things had been just months ago. His fleet now spent more time delivering supplies and protecting trade routes than fighting. "Admiral," his aide whispered, "the first graduating class of the new Galactic Defense Academy is ready for your inspection." Walker nodded and headed to the Academy grounds. The sight there made him pause. Young officers from Earth trained alongside former Empire cadets and trading collective recruits. They were learning not just combat, but diplomacy, rescue operations, and peaceful conflict resolution. "Attention," called out the lead instructor. The cadets snapped to attention, their diverse uniforms showing their different homeworlds. At ease, Walker said, "Tell me, what is the first duty of a Galactic Defense Force officer?" A former Empire cadet stepped forward. "To protect, sir. Not to conquer, but to defend those who cannot defend themselves." Walker smiled. They had learned the most important lesson. Meanwhile, in the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Harris reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. Earth's technology was now being shared with trusted allies. Their military tactics were being taught across the galaxy, but most importantly, their ideas about leadership and responsibility were spreading. "Sir," his aide reported, "the trading collective's new defense fleet is ready. They've adopted our command structure, but added their own improvements." Harris nodded. That was exactly what they had hoped for. Not copies of Earth's methods, but new combinations that made everyone stronger. In orbit above Earth, the new Galactic Council headquarters neared completion. Unlike the Empire's palace, it was designed to be open and accessible. Ships from every world could dock there, and its libraries and meeting halls were open to all. Dr. Thompson walked through its corridors with Ambassador Dawn of the Trading Collective. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Dawn asked. Thompson shook her head. "We prepared for war, but we always hoped for peace. Humanity learned the hard way that real strength comes from working together." In the council chamber, the final vote was taking place. The galaxy needed new leadership, and every world had a voice in choosing it. The High Speaker, now elected rather than appointed, made the announcement. "The Council has spoken. Dr. Mary Thompson of Earth has been chosen as the first Chancellor of the new Galactic Alliance." Thompson took her place at the round table. "We accept this responsibility with humility," she said. "Earth doesn't want to be the new empire. We want to be part of something better." Across the galaxy, people watched the ceremony on their screens. On former Empire worlds, children played in parks that had once been military bases. Trading ships moved freely through space lanes that had once been dangerous borders. Admiral Walker's fleet patrolled these lanes now, but they weren't alone. Ships from every world helped maintain peace. They had learned from Earth that the strongest defense comes from working together. General Harris watched the ceremony from his office. On his desk sat an old photograph from the days when Earth had pretended to be primitive. Next to it stood a new image. Representatives from 100 worlds, working together to build something new. "We did it," he said quietly. "We didn't just win the war. We helped make peace." As the ceremony ended, the new Galactic Alliance flag was raised, a design showing not conquest or power, but unity and hope. Earth had changed the galaxy not just through force of arms, but through force of example. The time of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun.